pre-recorded. I want you guys to please feel free to put your questions down in the box. And without further ado, we are here live at Wallace Center Studios in Plainview, New York. I am your host, Michael Knapp. This is going to be your one-stop shop for Lochinvar commercial boiler product knowledge, entertainment with a little bit of excitement. If you aren't fired up about Lochinvar, please check your pulse because you might be dead. A few housekeeping items I'm going to go over here. The restrooms are located in the nearest restroom from where you are currently sitting. I know your eyes will be glued to the screen with this captivating presentation, but if nature calls, please go. We will still be here waiting for you when you get back. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please write them in the chat box below. And Miss Fallon, who is the executive producer of this show, will let me know and we'll address them accordingly. This presentation is intended for those in the New York metropolitan, Long Island, and New Jersey areas. I know we get a few people joining us from outside of our territory, and while we love everybody that loves Lochinvar, this presentation is for people in those territories only. So please, if you're asking specific questions about how something should be retrofitted in Wyoming, I don't know. So go to your Wyoming rep. I've seen it, well, anyway, sorry. Once this presentation concludes, you will be jonesing for a Lochinvar boiler. I see this all the time whenever we give these presentations. People are all fired up. Please call your local representative. If you do not know who your local rep is, and you happen to be in New York, New Jersey, I will almost guarantee you that it is Wallace Center, and you'll have my email address, our direct phone number, and you could call me personally. All of that will be available for you in the chat box after this presentation has concluded. Please keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle and remain seated at all times. Let's enjoy the ride. So Wallace Center, who are we? Well, we've been in business for over 95 years. This slide is a little dated. We currently have over 80 employees, so that again is a little bit outdated, and our average tenure is 16 years. We have two main locations. One is located in Plainview, New York. The other one is in New Jersey. If you were to walk around our office and you had a question about anything to do with HVAC, mechanical, or plumbing, I can assure you there is 1,500 years of experience around me at all times or one phone call away. If you have a question about it, there's a very good chance that we have somebody in our office that has that experience. So two fully stocked warehouses in New York metropolitan area, Long Island area, and the New Jersey area. We have we have a lot of we have a lot of different things to offer you in terms of service, in terms of product, in terms of knowledge. We coin ourselves the problem solvers for a reason. And I hope that after this presentation, you'll be left with a good feeling and knowing that you have a company in your back pocket that you can call with any of these issues that you have. We are a simple solution company. So let's get cranking here. All right, we're welcome to the Lochinvar training, Lochinvar commercial boilers. Now I'm going to give you a forewarning. When I originally was given this presentation, it was over 400 slides. My eyeballs hurt just from deleting those slides. We are not going to do a deep dive into the particulars of these units. What I would like to do is kind of go over some of the science behind it, and you know what is it that Lochinvar is doing that makes them better than our competitors. All right, we're going to do that kind of 30,000-mile flyover kind of view. There are other classes that are dedicated to the nuts and bolts inside. That is not a class that was given by me, but those slides were taken out of here, and for good measure, right? At the end of the day, I want you guys to enjoy these webinars and leave with a good feeling about our product. I don't want to be droning on for 2 hours talking about you know, which wiring harness you're supposed to put inside the unit, which is actually, believe it or not, what one of the slides entailed. So today's course, we're gonna explore how condensing technology works and what this means for the efficiency in any application, actually. We're going to do a dive into Lochinvar's commercial condensing boiler lines, installation. We're going to go over a little bit of startup and some of the maintenance parts that are involved with that. So you have condensing technology. We're going to explore some heat loss. Again, we're doing a little bit of science, and then we're going to do a dive into the actual products that Lochinvar offers. So I know everybody loves numbers, right? Especially when you're going to a presentation, you have a lot of things going on. People are calling you, emailing you while you're trying to do this presentation. So let me just break down what you're looking at real quick. What this slide shows is the heat flow of a conventional or a standard efficiency boiler. What's important to note here, for those not familiar with those terms, sensible heat is energy that is transferred as heat to an object. Sensible heat will change the temperature of that body, whether that be solid, liquid, or gas, but it will not change its state. Sensible heat leaves that to its good friend, latent heat. Latent heat is the energy released or absorbed in order to change the state of the body. Your fuel input always has good intentions, I assure you this. It wants to give you 100% of everything it has to offer. Only problem is you have a boiler jacket, that's going to lose some heat. Some of the heat's going to get lost up your flue. And thanks to chemistry and physics, there will be latent heat loss, which in a conventional boiler, you lose. It's just like fighting Mike Tyson in the original Punch-Out of Nintendo. 25 years, still haven't beaten the guy. So why choose a condensing boiler, Mike? Well, that's a great question, me. Condensing technology allows you to capture that flue gas loss and that latent heat loss and use it where you need it, which is heating your water. As you can see in the diagram that you see on the screen right now, by capturing that heat, you are now able to achieve 96% efficiency as opposed to 85% efficiency. As you will see as we go on here, 96% efficiency is now getting up to 97 in some of our boilers, 98, and 99. Pretty incredible stuff. So whether you're a junior contractor, lead contractor, business owner, homeowner, or sales engineer like me, simplicity is key, right? You want to make people understand the benefits of using condensing technology. So I always explain it this way. If your boiler is 96% efficient, that means for every dollar you're spending to heat your home, 96 cents of that will be converted into useful heat. Even though 4 cents is lost through your boiler, you have your boiler standby and your flue gas losses going up your flue, you're still at a major advantage over the 15 to 25 cents you were losing per dollar with your conventional or standard efficiency boiler. So when we are sizing our systems, and namely our boiler, common practice is using design day or D-day conditions. Am I not right? If we are getting crushed by a polar vortex or a abominable snowman terrorizing the neighborhood, I still want to be wearing a pair of gym shorts and a t-shirt when I'm walking around my house. So really, what are those numbers telling us, right? Design conditions rarely occur. You might design your New York boiler for a 5-degree day. I don't think we ever got that cold in 2021. I think the coldest we got this year was like closer to 15 degrees. And that was only for a short period of time. Out of 8,000 hours of heating, design conditions occur less than 100 hours. And you see that across the country. This means that 99.9% of the time, the building can be heated with less boiler or less radiation. What a novel concept. So this is where we start to get into the theory of outdoor reset, right? And if you've ever come to Wallace Ennis class, or you've been a part of, maybe the level 1 that I did a couple of months ago with this class, we talk a lot about outdoor reset and the functionality and what that means and how that's going to allow your boiler to get the maximum turn down, so that in those shoulder months you're really running that boiler at a low modulation, but you have longer cycles, stuff like that. So I just wanted to quickly highlight that graph of the outdoor temperature versus the boiler water temperature. As you get freezing cold outside, you obviously want to get that heat that's going around your house up. But if it's a shoulder month and you're looking at 56 degrees outside, well, then maybe you can heat your entire home, keep everything comfortable for everybody with 100-degree water. So what are the benefits of weather responsive controls? This is essentially what we just said is comfort, right? We're not in the heating business, we're in the comfort business. I always say that. And the output of the system is matched to the heat loss of the home. Even the room temperature, staying ahead rather than catching up to a heat loss. So I have a Lochinvar boiler in my house, and even though yesterday was nice and warm and the day before was just a little bit cooler, that boiler was on, but it was at a very low modulation, just kind of letting everything do its, a slow roll, keeping everything at a nice, easy 69 degrees, 70 degrees in the house. And that is the benefit of weather responsive controls. You have an outdoor reset, you now can maximize the efficiency of your boiler and the comfort in your home. I left this slide in here, but we're not going to get into dew points today. I mean, basically what you need to know and gather out of this slide is this. You want your return temperature of your boiler to be below 135 degrees, right? And that's when you're going to maximize the efficiency of your boiler, right? And in a couple of slides, we're going to go over condensing technology, what it means, how it works. But always keeping in the back of your mind that you want 135 degree temperature or below. And what that's going to do is drop you below the dew point, right? And that way you'll be condensing inside of that boiler. Condensate is the lifeblood of efficiency when it comes to boilers and or water heaters. So just to quickly jump into one of our commercial boiler lines, we have the Knight commercial boiler, the Knight XL, as it's commonly known as. Now, earlier this week, I had to do some tinkering to this presentation because Lochinvar just released a new edition of this boiler that's been around for a very long time. The last edition that they made was in 2010, and that's been the boiler of choice, the water tube boiler of choice, I should say, that Lochinvar's had for the better part of 10 years. But just recently, their R&D department put in some new cogs, did some special things, and here we are with the new and improved version, the Kbx Knight XL, right? So now they have 5 models. One main thing that they've done differently is that they added a 1 million. The old boiler was 94.6 efficient. So now this boiler has the ability to get up to, and I'll show you that in a second, my apologies, is 97% efficiency. The old version had a 5-to-1 turn down. This new version has a 10-to-1 turn down. And call the presses, because the 150-foot equivalent vent lengths has been a huge selling point for us at Wallace Ennis. As you can imagine, there are a lot of big buildings, and venting for condensing technology can become problematic depending on where the boiler room is, what type of building you're dealing with. So this new Knight XL offering a 150-foot equivalent length, as long as we're not doing a full flow application, we're doing primary, secondary, this has become the easiest sale for me as a sales engineer for Wallace Ennis. And again, incredible boiler, touchscreen technology. I mean, it looks cool, right? That's really what the kids are buying it for these days. Gen Z saw this boiler and they were like, God, I gotta have it. Mom, I want a 500,000 BTU boiler with 97% efficiency. Don't get me the smartphone this year. So, anywho, thermal efficiency, right? A measurement of efficiency that determines the exact amount of heat transfer to the water during the operation of the water heater or boiler. Thermal efficiency is expressed as a percentage of available heat from burned gas that is transferred to water. So that is the theory behind what 97% is going to mean to us. So I made a mention about full flow and sticking with water tube versus fire tube, and you're going, maybe you know all about that. Maybe you don't know anything about that. I'm going to cater to everybody in the room here and say that the heat exchanger that is inside of our Knight XL unit is a water tube heat exchanger. So if you were doing a full flow or variable flow piping arrangement for your building, a water tube heat exchanger would not be the ideal, but we do have a solution for that, and it's going to be in the next couple of slides. But if you do have a primary secondary setup, I would strongly implore you to take a look at this water tube design boiler. It has a lot of bells and whistles. You know, water tube heat exchangers, the skinny of it is this, you know, there's water inside the tube, right? And the flue products are directed around that tube on the interior there. So I don't know if I have a highlighting tool in this new version. Yeah, this is cool. Yeah, so what I'm talking about is right up in here, okay? So you have little tubes that are wrapped around inside. That is phenomenal artwork by me, by the way. This is great. You have tubes, so the water is traveling around those tubes, and as you can see right in the middle here is our burner, right? So the burner is heating up that middle section as the water is flowing through these tubes in here, or I'm sorry, around the burner. Trying not to confuse people. So that's your water tube design. And as you can see, this is probably a better a picture of what you would see if you were to open the boiler up, is this bottom picture here. But you know, now I hope you catch the drift. So, you know, Mike, why would we want to use this in a full flow situation? Well, the answer is very simple, actually. Because of these small little tubes, yes, you can move volumes of water through them, but in a full flow application, you can't move enough water through them. And in that case, you would want a fire tube, which we will go over in a couple of slides. Okie dokie, let's move on. All right, so this is a new slide that I threw in. Hey, what's going on with the highlighter, dude? Let's get that out of there. All right, so we're going over the new Knight XL features. I really don't have like the cool, I basically just stole everything from their sales brochure. So I apologize for those of you that were anxiously anticipating waiting outside of the Apple store, waiting outside of Lochinvar like you were waiting outside of the Apple store to get your hands on this new boiler. You probably already know this stuff because this is on the brochure that you could find at lochinvar.com. But four main highlights that they're looking at are things that they changed, right? They now have that 7-inch touchscreen. People love that. Touchscreens look cool. Stainless steel water tube heat exchanger, we just went over that. Your 10-to-1 modulation, that is really cool, as opposed to your 5-to-1. You now have an ability to have much longer cycles than you did previously. And you got your combustion air filter, which is everybody's favorite part to talk about. And, you know, I used to have like 10 slides in here about air filtration on the intake of the boiler. Those slides are gone. See you later. You're out of here. Okay, so I'm gonna get a little deep here, but you know, please forgive me. All Knight boilers are equipped with a negative regulation combustion system, right? With a quote-unquote neg-reg combustion system, the speed of the combustion air fan will dictate the amount of fuel that is drawn into your combustion system, right? So Lochinvar has an integrated control board that senses that the heating demand is decreasing, and that will lower your fan speed, right, through a signal, and that signal will be sent to the fan, lowering the speed. This lower speed signal excuse me, this lower speed signal will lower the fan speed, thus lower the amount of negative pressure in the air intake of the pipe. I guess trying to think of like a good example to explain this. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. It is what it is. You know, there's that negative pressure in the gas valve sends less gas to the combustion system. All you need to know is that this type of negative regulation is really what allows Lochinvar to have your gas pressures low, right? So we want to see 4 inches, between 4 inches and 14 inches of water column on your inlet of your gas, right? And what allows you to have to go as low as 4 inches is going to be that neg reg combustion that we just discussed. So yeah, I apologize for slipping on the example. I was just distracted. Try doing a presentation when you have 2 kids in the background screaming like maniacs. So venting, right? I promised you we are not going to do a deep dive into the venting and going over each one because I don't want you to fall asleep, right? You have a job to do after this is over, and we're trying to get this done within the anywhere from the 30-minute to 45-minute range. But all-night boilers have the ability, all-night XL boilers now have the ability to, with vent lengths, have the ability to be vented 150 equivalent feet and terminate in multiple fashions, as you can see here. And I'll make this note throughout this presentation, is that no matter how many times we do presentations on venting, when it comes to the install day, we get the phone call anyway, right? So making you aware that you have many options, and I know you're going to call me anyway. So we're not going to do a deep dive, just knowing that we have a team of people that help us. We do get designed and approved, we do get stamped and approved design venting through Chimney Design Solutions. So Wallace Ennis, Chimney Design Solutions, and Lochinvar are all in cahoots with each other and helping New York and New Jersey stay safe with their venting. So here's some termination options, not gonna get too deep into this stuff. Oop. Okay. So all our night boilers are equipped with the most technologically advanced control platform in the industry. We have the smart system, right? Everyone has a really cool trademark for describing how awesome they're. It is hailing outside right now in Long Island, by the way. The smart system operating control has many features, including some that are exclusive to Lochinvar, such as domestic hot water night setback. You have your separately adjustable domestic, domestic hot water switching time. You have a 0 to 10 volt for your variable speed boiler pump, which we're going to go over a little bit later, talking more about using those variable speed pumps with your boiler, allowing the boiler to be the brain in the room, not giving it a separate relay, and then that way the boiler doesn't have the ability to control it the way it wants to. But I can tell you this, no other boiler manufacturer in the industry can boast a control with as many control features as this smart system. All right, so here's your pump. I wanted to fix this animation on the presentation. I'm being way too transparent with the audience here. But the last thing I want you guys doing is reading each one of these red ones, and I'm not doing it either. So just take a quick breeze over, take a look, and then we're going to get into fire tube technology and what that means. And then we're going to get into our next series of boilers. All right. All you need to know is when you have an application, call Wallace Ennis and we'll find the best solution for you, right? All right. So now on to my favorite part of the presentation. Lochinvar has fire tube boilers, right? The Crest and the Crest little bro, the FTXL. Both of these have a fire tube heat exchanger. So let's go into that technology a little bit, right? We're going to discover that. Well, I'm sorry, we're going to do a little bit of discovery and show you guys what differentiates us from our competitors. Once the patented micro metal fiber burner delivers heat to the combustion chamber, the baffles direct the flow of the water for optimal heat transfer. That is a really cool way of saying fire tube technology is awesome. So why does any of that matter? I'm gonna kind of summarize it up. Water enters the bottom of the fire tube heat exchanger, right? And it's traversing up around the fire tubes, right? The downward flow of the gas. So you look at this picture. Let's take a, we'll steal this one, okay? This is where your burner is chilling, okay? That burner is firing off and shooting flue gas down these little fire tubes here. All right, while that's happening, you got your cold water flowing in and around, not cold, but you know what I mean. You got your return water coming into the boiler, going around those fire tubes. Now, if you remember a couple of slides ago, we talked about that dew point, right? So we have our return temperature coming in at 135 degrees. Now we got boiling hot water, boiling hot burner, mixing with that, with that low return temperature water, and what you're getting is condensation. So heat within the fire tubes induces the condensation, and this is a very important step. As I said before, condensation is the lifeblood of condensing boilers' high efficiency. Yo, dude, shut my door. Sorry about that. Kids do not care about what you're doing. So the general counterflow design has not changed.
Heat from combustion travels down through the flue tubes and is exhausted through the vent. Cool return water enters at the bottom of the heat exchanger and exits near the top. This counterflow movement of downward heat and upward water provides an immediate exchange of energy through adjacent passageways.
She totally stole my shine, right? So that's a quick general explanation of the counterflow design. But the importance is going to remain the same. This design lends itself to the very essence of efficiency. Its inherent design also creates a natural heat trap. And as my good friend Admiral Akbar from Star Wars would say, it's a trap. I've heard from many engineers express concerns of piping boilers and full flow systems due to the concern of excessive heat loss through the unfired boiler. Because the flue is at the bottom of the heat exchanger and the hottest water is at the top, it does not create a negative draft, and the standby losses are actually quite small in this design. So what's the heart of the crest efficiency, right? Like this is the same kind of design of FTXL, so I could probably change that header. What's the heart of the fire tube XL and or the crest? You know, this is designed and engineered at Lochinvar. So now we're in our second generation of this tube type technology, which is now a shorter length and an actual smaller diameter. That tube design has one major advantage over our competitors. This tube, the way it's designed, you see that waviness to it. Let's get this highlighter going again. You see how it is waving in and out? Really what that's doing is creating turbulence for the flue gas. That truly maximizes, I want you to envision this in your head. The flue gas is actually scrubbing the walls of the tube. This new design is what helped Lochinvar achieve that 96% efficiency mark initially, and redesigns to that have allowed them to get that much higher percentage that you'll see in a minute. Cool, boiler pictures, yay. So what makes Crest And the FTXL, awesome, right? You got a modulating burner that provides high turndown ratio. Thermal efficiency rating between 96 to 98% efficiency, right? That's all great stuff. Fire tube design, heat exchanger maintains low pressure drop, right? You got a big old vat of water in there. Not a lot of not a lot of friction against the walls. I mean, yes, you're going to get some friction against the tubes and the walls of the heat exchanger itself, but it's, mainly it's wide open. So you get a much lower pressure drop going through that fire tube heat exchanger versus your water tube, for example. The capability of variable flow, right? That's another thing that you'll see with, depending on how an engineer is going to be designing a system or how the existing system is piped in. If you're doing a full flow application, you're not going to use a Knight XL. You're going to be looking for an FTXL or a Crest boiler, which this is not in the presentation the way that I put it. But I also want to let you guys know that the FTXL fits through 3.0 doors. So what we're seeing in a lot of different applications is you have an existing building that needs a lot more BTUs because they're expanding, but they don't really have the service clearance to get into the building with a Crest unit, for example. I mean, they're not small boilers and they come in big old crates. And that's where the FTXL comes in, right? That FTXL being the little brother of the Crest. Can fit through the 3.0 doors. We can cascade them. We can put a bunch of them in series with each other, and achieve that BTU rating while having a small footprint. And you have state-of-the-art controls, deliver a consistent and reliable heating system, right? So I'm gonna get myself in trouble. I don't see anybody from Lochinvar here. Let me just do a quick peruse, because I am all about getting into trouble, as you can imagine. And that's why they have me doing these, right? They just want to see me, fail. There is going to be a new edition of the FTXL coming out very soon, right? We don't have too much information on it, but I do know that we are going to have a 1 million BTU version of that boiler. It is not available yet. So this slide is going to be out of date within like the next month or two, once we get a little bit more. Why is that exciting? Why isn't it exciting is what you should be asking, right? You now have you now have a smaller boiler with a small footprint. It's going to have a 1 million BTU boiler that can fit through a 3.0 door. So if you have a really small space or a tight nook that you're trying to get into, the FTXL is now going to offer you, now going to offer you a solution to get a smaller footprint, be able to get through the door, and get your achievement for BTUs without having to order 3 or 4 different sizes of boilers to try to get there. So we're actually really excited about it. I love the FTXL. That was hands down my favorite boiler, and still is in a lot of ways. But then they came out with this new Knight XL, and then you start to look at the controls, and knowing that Lochinvar is now taking that control and going to be rolling out new units and updating and making new generations to other boilers. So it's not a matter of if, when the FTXL gets the Knight XL's current control, hands down, this is going to be the only boiler I put forth, as long as the application allows it. So the FTXL lineup has 5 different sizes as of today, but that's going to change. And the Crest has 12 different sizes. The smaller inputs, you're getting 96.2%. The larger sizes, you're getting 96%, as you see in that right-hand column there. All right, so you got your 5 Knight XL boilers. Sorry, I just blew right past that. Here's the family. One of the broadest in the industry when it comes to fire tube at this size. So let's just quickly talk about like why is it that I love the fire tube heat exchanger, right? No, I'm sorry, the FTXL. Well, 1, it has a fire tube heat exchanger. I love that. 2, as you can see, everything on this boiler was designed and meant for service. And someone in my position, as you can imagine, I get a lot of different calls for a lot of different reasons. But one of those main reasons is service. You know, people just, they have a boiler that they installed 5 years ago. They want to do some routine maintenance. I was the one that sold them the boiler. So they're calling me back and saying, hey man, you know, I got the manual here. But I'm just, you know, before I get down there, is there anything I need to know, right? And I'll just tell them, you know, I'll show them this picture and be like, dude, all you need to know is that this unit is completely, this unit can be completely broken down. So you have removable panels, you have a hinged top. Any facet of this boiler that you need to get your hands into, no matter how tall or how short you are, this boiler will allow you to do so. And why is that important? Well, for the installing contractor, it's not always as important, but if you know the building owner is going to hold that building and they're not just trying to flip the building, having that in your back pocket as part of your sales approach is just letting them know, hey man, we'll make everything nice and easy for you in terms of service. You know, annually or biannually, you want to go take a look at this boiler. Hey, check it out. Look, you can remove all these panels as a hinge top, blah, blah, blah. Makes everything nice and easy for everybody. All right, the FTXL installation footprint is 6.2 square feet. In layman's, it's small. And you'll see in this next picture what it looks like when you get a bunch of them cascaded together. And then I got another one here. So Aquatherm, everyone's confused. Oh, I didn't even realize I still have the highlight up. Nice. As you can see here, you know, you have Aquatherm piping. I'm not sure how familiar everybody is with that. You know, it is a newer technology. Wallace Ennis is the representative for that technology in our area. And we're doing as much as we can to get it in front of engineers and push it. There are still some limitations when it comes to Aquatherm. Hang on 1 second for me. Yep. There are some limitations in terms of what approvals we have with the state, but those are soon to be overturned and will be wide open for domestic water use. But I'm sure in the next 10 years, you'll see a lot more of this blue-green pipe floating around. Okay. So full flow, variable flow, right? I keep talking about this. I'm talking about primary, secondary versus full flow. Well, FTXL flow rates can range from 10 GPM to 150 GPM, right? So if you have a full flow system, this can really help you with reducing those installation costs. And you don't have to do the extra piping that's involved with the primary, secondary setup. And not to mention the pumps, right? So when you have primary, secondary, you need the boiler pumps and the system pumps. Depending on the size, depending on the layout, while that can sometimes be a cost saving measure, right? Your system pumps can end up being a little smaller and your boiler pumps can be nice and small. In some applications, it's not as easy as that to say. And sometimes you need bigger boiler pump and sometimes you need a bigger system pump. Whereas full flow technology will allow you to just have those really big system pumps, and that'll allow you to do everything you're going to need to do with this boiler, as well as with the Crest, which is what we're going to go over now. So as mentioned, we have 12 different sizes. There will be a new rendition of this boiler coming up, but as you can imagine, this is the pride and joy of Lochinvar. We love our Crest boiler. I love our Crest boiler. How many times I've sold these things, it feels very much like a set it and forget it type product. Same thing, it utilizes that fire tube technology that we were just talking about. There are baffles inside the heat exchanger. So this allows 98% of the water flow through the center baffle hole. And this is kind of going to be highlighted on our next slide. There's a little boiler demo. You can actually see the return temperature water coming in and actually watch that heat transfer. So, you know, the design of this heat exchanger forces the water throughout the interior of the heat exchanger, right? Just listening to that makes it sound like, whoa, what does that mean? It's pretty cool. As mentioned previously, the water is entering through the bottom, right? That water is now helps to cool the metal as the hot combustion gases flow down, hence giving us condensate. condensate being the lifeblood of the efficiency for condensing boilers. So here's a quick animation of what you're, you seeing your water come in. Oh, I didn't realize that was going to stop my animation. Come on, man. Dude. There we go. All right. So as you can see at the top, you got your burner forcing those flue gases down. You have your return water coming in, and obviously your supply water is going out the top. All of this by design is allowing us the maximum heat transfer across that heat exchanger. So you have your combustion chamber. Depending on the size of the unit, your flanges are going to be the 3 or 4 inches. Actually, the bigger sizes are going up in size. You have your fire tube heat exchanger, your condensate collection down here at the bottom. People, please make sure you're putting condensate neutralization kits on these condensing boilers. I walked into a boiler room that was not Lochinvar the other day, and I saw one without it, and the concrete looked like chicken noodle soup. That is what condensate does. It's acidic, it destroys, it maims and kills everything. There you go. Yep. So you have your 4 to 6 inches on the larger heat exchangers. So your 2.5 million to your 6 million, you'll have that jumping from 4 inch to 6 inch. And again, design is the same. Is this entire setup stainless steel? No, just a heat exchanger port. The outer shell is actually carbon steel, ASME certified. But I don't want to get, there were some other slides in here about wiring and doing something like that. And again, I don't want your mind to become numb. I want to use this as an opportunity to teach you a few different things, show you what it is that makes Lochinvar a little bit special, but also take this as an opportunity to make sure that when you're installing these boilers, you have your head wrapped around what you should be doing other than just buying a boiler and putting it in, right? Now, I will never sell you an FTXL boiler, a Crest boiler, or a Knight boiler for that matter without a pump. But sometimes I get people that like to fight with me on the type of pump that I'm giving them, right? I'm going to give you a magnetic strainer. I'm going to give you a magnetic rotor pump with ECM technology, i.e. it has variable speed technology built in. And the reason for that, and I always use this slide to kind of show this to people, and really what my point is here, stop using constant speed pumps on your modulating boiler. Why, Nap? Or sorry, everyone might know me as Mike, but everyone that knows me calls me Nap, right? So Nap, why are you always telling us not to use constant speed? Well, guess what it's doing to your delta T, okay? Your boiler is modulating, and it's calling out to your constant speed pump, and it's saying, yo, dude, we need to slow down. And the constant speed pump's going, oh, okay, yeah, I'll slow down, except I don't have a brain and I don't know what to do. So it's just going to continue running at constant speed. So the boiler's firing at 100%, going down to 80%, down to 60%, just taking a look at this metric here, right? So no matter what your boiler is doing, your pump is still pulling 47 GPM. Well, that is destroying your delta T, right? As opposed to a variable speed pump. So what that is now giving you is the ability to modulate, right? So as your boiler's firing rate changes, your GPM flow changes and your delta T changes. So Mike, why am I so worried about delta T? Well, the real reason why you want to maintain a larger delta T, you don't want that small delta T, right? Is so that you're constantly having your return temperature coming back below that 135, right? If I don't need my boiler firing at 100%, and this is a theory. It's like, oh, well, my boiler has 98% efficiency, so I'm cool, I'm good all year round. And it's like, not necessarily. So when you have those design day conditions, like those 100 hours that we claimed at the beginning of this presentation, or you have like that really cold day where your boiler is firing at 180, 185 degrees, depending on how you set it, During those conditions, you are not going to be condensing, right? You're not going to be running at high efficiency. But really what the high efficiency that you're looking for is those shoulder months, right? When you're not running at 180 degrees, when you're running at 155 degrees, right? That 155, 150 degrees. And we can jump back in the presentation and look at the outdoor reset curve. But again, this is about theory, right? I'm not going to sit here and go through the numbers with you guys, just understanding NAP. Why am I putting an outdoor reset? NAP. Why do I need a modulating pump? NAP. What is it that Lochinvar is doing that's different from everybody else, right? That's kind of what we're doing here. I just need you guys to understand that when you're maintaining a 20-degree delta T, the chances, or it's actually not even a game of chance, when your boiler is modulating at those lower turndown rates, your condensing and your efficiency are going to be higher, right? So your efficiency throughout the entire year, or when that boiler is being utilized, is at its maximum rate. And that's kind of where I do see this still, and it drives me insane that people put their constant speed pump on their modulating boiler. Don't do that. And if you see that, pull the guy aside and be like, yo, dude, this is not the way you're supposed to do this. And I also, just as a side note, I cannot begin to tell you how many times people don't put outdoor resets on their modulating boilers. And I see this more on the residential side than I do on the commercial per se, because someone will say something along the lines of, well, one of the women that live here, they really get cold easily. So I don't want the boiler modulating, because then she's gonna be more apt to complain. Listen, I understand that, but you can also change your parameters and settings so that your boiler runs hotter during those semi-warm, cold days. You can have it so that it's running at a higher temperature. So that way you're still getting your efficiency, but you're you're maximizing your efficiency, but you're also catering to that particular person. And I hate that people just take, they take a Lochinvar boiler, this big beautiful product. These people are paying extra money for this condensing boiler technology, and then they're not giving them an outdoor reset, or they're giving them a constant speed pump. And guess what? You're basically just taking all the value that you paid for and throwing it in the garbage. So why is the Crest special, right? This is actually a really easy question. The Crest boiler, right, offers the largest turndown ratio for any of the Lochinvar boilers. And depending on which competitor you're talking about, sometimes what they like to say is that they have a higher modulation turndown, but it actually in turn winds up that it's not true when you start to look at some of the numbers. And there are a few things that are done, and I'm not naming any names. I will name them in private conversation when I know I'm going up against a certain, and I'll be happy to pull their IOM manual down, show you what they're saying, and showing you the math behind why what they're saying is not true. But I can tell you what Lochinvar is saying is, this keeps the unit running instead of on-off, right? So we want longer cycles. I'm sure you've heard that every class you go to when you're talking about condensing technology is, we want to see longer cycles. On-off is a killer of any boiler, right? And I think I've talked about this already at least 3 times, and I have at least 2 or 3 more slides where it's going to be mentioned. You want to extend the life of your boiler, then the best option is to extend the length of your cycles, right? Do you cut your computer off every time you answer an email? No, the computer stays on, but the processor ramps up and or down based on the need that you have for that computer, right? So every time you're sending out an email, you don't turn your computer on and off. You just let your processor do its job. So why are you doing that with your boiler, right? You try to make a little bit of analogies here to help people understand concepts. So our IOM lists our minimum flows. We have high fire and low fire flow rates. Some of our competitors claim they have no minimum flow rate. So I would ask you and your common sense, What happens when the boiler runs with no flow? Can it actually do that all the time? I think you all know the answer to that. So we have heat exchanger capacities. I'm not going to go line by line, but again, understanding that because of that fire tube heat exchanger and the size of it, you kind of have an energy store built into your you have an energy store built into your Crest boiler and or fire tube. I keep calling it the fire tube XL because that's the real name, FTXL. I don't want to confuse anybody. So what are some of the benefits of high turndown? And I'm just wanted to do a little bit of math here for you, but I promise you I'm not going to kill anybody. All right, our competitor's unit will cut off, let's say 4 to 5 times during the 19-minute span that we're doing in this little sample set. That's 4 to 5 times the electrical contacts are made. The fan is going to ramp up and down, and the gas valve is cutting. You see where I'm going with this, right? You minimize those cycles with high turndown, right? We're lowering the amount of cycles by lengthening the cycle. The longer the boiler is running, the happier your boiler will be. I promise you this. And it will last substantially longer. So the last time of this presentation, I promise, longer cycles, less cycles equals longer life of your expensive boiler. That's all the math that you're seeing there. And so I just wanted to, we get some questions about what type of pipe, we get some questions here about what type of pipe people are going to need and sizing and certain things like that. So I left these slides in so that you could just see that whenever you're dealing with a Crest unit, you're basically talking about 3-inch, 4-inch, and 6-inch piping, depending on the size of the model. We can go anywhere from 600 GPM on the big ones to 350 GPM on the smaller ones. I mean, we have a lot of capability in these boilers. Minimum flow rates here, on that smallest one, your minimum, on your smallest version of the Crest, your minimum flow rate is going to be 18 GPM. So stop listening to people saying to you that there's no such thing as a minimum flow rate. And that's what you're going to want to see. If you have no flow, I thought I saw somebody do that. If you have no flow, it's really bad. That's how you superheat your heat exchanger, and then you're cooking through concrete. System fluid. So guys, this used to be like 40 slides. I turned it into 3 because I value your brain cells, right? And really what it comes down to is this. You're dealing with high-end technology, right? You bought a Lochinvar boiler because you believe in, you bought a boiler, you bought this boiler and the technology, right? And you bought the variable speed that has ECM technology on it. And you bought this big, beautiful fire tube heat exchanger that you now want to protect. But you do all of this, you put this stuff into the room, and then we see people that don't even drain the whole system down, right? And they're putting the old water back into the new car, or sorry, putting the old water back into the new boiler. So Jerry Katz, I know many of you guys know who that is. Jerry always used to say, he goes, when you buy a new car, do you take the old oil out of that car and put it into the new car, right? And the obvious answer is no. But yet here we are, we see this happening with our water quality. So people are taking an old boiler, an old system with all sorts of crap and junk in it, and they're taking that water, not draining it down, not flushing the system out, and they're just taking it and running it right back through to their new ECM pumps that love to love magnetite. They're not putting any kind of magnetic separator. Believe it or not, I walked into a job recently. The guy didn't even have a Y strainer on the inlet of the boiler. So as we're going to conclude the presentation, and we have a few more slides left, but I just wanted to keep this in here just so we can have that healthy conversation about not only is water hardness, pH, chloride, sediment, all those things very important. Filtration is also an important part of this as well. All right, so the first two components we listed here for how fluid enters a closed loop system, right? The initial fill provides all the system fluid after the pre-commissioning cleaning is done. A normal and very necessary part, oh, sorry guys. A normal and very necessary part of efficient hydronic heating is air removal. As you know, you put an air separator, is used to skim the air bubbles as the system flows through the piping, which slightly reduces the volume with its skimming action. However, now you need makeup water. That makeup water is necessary to keep the volume steady so the pressure remains adequate to reach all different parts of the system. So let's take it one step further. Should be is used for this recommendation, right? Because every system is different. We use 5% here to provide a target or a pulse, right? The key points here are the bullets that I'm just gonna pull these bullets out right now. There you go. So it should be less than 5% of the total system volume per year, right? That makeup water, that's the design that we're using. Install water meter to track usage, repair any leaks, ensure only conditioned water is added to makeup water. So as you can imagine, we are going to talk a little bit about Sentinel. I pulled those slides out. Sentinel is a boiler, a water and pipe cleaning solution that Wallace still has. But I'm looking at Easy Water is another solution that we have. That slide was not included here. Again, if you're looking at installing a Lochinvar boiler and you're worried about how you're going to get to these levels in terms of the chemicals, right? So you want that, you want water filtration, you want your pH levels, your total dissolved solids, all of that. That is solved with a very simple conversation at the time of purchase. You know, we have certain cleaning solutions, chemicals like that to clean out the existing system. And then also we have Easy Water that has makeup water technology to help you so that when you have makeup water coming into the system, that is also getting cleaned. But again, I don't want to get too deep into this, but just making sure you're aware that Lochinvar does have standards that they want the water quality to hold when they're doing this. Magnetic strip separators. You know, again, we're getting down to the wire here. I wanted to keep this under an hour, so I'm going to take another 2 minutes tops. But I do need to talk about this. Magnetic separators becoming even more important now with the ECM technology that you're seeing in pumps. All right, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but when you are purchasing a FTXL unit or a Crest from me, I'm giving you one of two things. Depending on the application, depending on the size, depending on the budget, I'm either giving you this Metroflex LPDM Y strainer. All right, you see that magnetic rod down the middle there? And or I'm giving you the boiler mag, right? Which is a whole fun, you pull this out, you can clean it, everything is fun, everyone, smiley face, right? So, I do have a slide in here about filtration. Just wanted to show you guys the ECM technology works. I'm gonna break this down without making you guys crazy. And that is, when you have ECM technology, this is what's going on inside your pump, right? So if I gave you an EcoCirc XL, or you're using a Taco 0015E, or a Grundfos Magna 3, for example. I know I'm gonna get beat up by my superiors for talking about competitors' pumps. But listen, I understand in the real world, people use things on different jobs. But the idea is to protect you and to allow you to allow me to be a trusted advisor. What you're looking at is what happens inside of your pump when you don't have a magnetic separator, right? That magnetic is strong, and what you're seeing in that picture there on the right, that's all magnetite. That's going to burn out your rotor. It's going to destroy your pump. It's going to ruin the drive. So now you just paid $1,500 or $1,000 for this big, beautiful ECM pump, and you find yourself in a position where things are, you find yourself in a position where now you have a catastrophic loss and you're out of warranty because you didn't put a magnetic separator. So again, just being careful of that. This will allow you maximum efficiency. You just need to make sure that you're providing the correct components around that technology to save it and protect it. It's all about the protection of the investment, right? The biggest reason that I consider water quality and understand the particular challenges at the job site is we like to do good business, right? That's why people call me. That's why my customers are like some of my best friends. I believe in doing good business. It's all about the end user, what makes them happy. You know, customers can end up spending major dollars on domestic hot water or hydronic systems. So it is terribly important to remember the most integral part, the water, can cause a lot more problems if not treated or having the technology of strainers, magnetic separators, so on and so forth. So venting options, right? I threw this in right at the end because we didn't go too much deep into it. I didn't go into all the different pictures of what you should do, what you shouldn't do, because I just wanted to make sure that when you walk out of this presentation, we're about to end in 2 minutes. I want to make sure that you know that all these venting options, all this different stuff, that's a simple phone call to a guy like me. We can get Lochinvar involved. We have service technicians. We have mechanical engineers on staff. We got Mike Knaps on staff. I don't even know what I do for this company, right? I just do a lot of stuff. I'm like, oh, presenting today. All right, cool. That's my job today. But I can help you with venting. I can help you with sizing and help you with sourcing and help you with logistics. What we would like to do is just make sure that you're aware. What we'd like to do is to make sure that you are aware that we have these capabilities to help you. You're not just investing in a Lochinvar crest boiler. You're investing in you're investing in everything that goes in and or around that. So real quick highlights. I don't know how many contractors I have in here. Whoa! All right, I lost it. I don't know how many contractors I have in here versus engineers, but Lochinvar has a VIP contractor program. Anyone that does business with me directly is already signed up into this. If you are ready to rock and roll with me, again, I'm gonna put all my information into the chat box at the end of this. So just hang tight for me. I'm sorry, guys. I'm finishing up. I do see questions there, and I don't know if I lost Fallon still with me. She might have had to pull out. But I just wanted to just quickly point this out. It's very simple setup. LochinvarVIP.com. I don't even want you signing up for this. All I want you to do, if you're a contractor, is, yo, Nap, I'm installing a boiler at such and such job site. Not only am I going to go down there and walk you through the startup and hang out with you, but then I'm going to take some pictures. We're going to get it up on Lochinvar VIP. I'm going to do all of that for you. We have people in our office that do all this signing up for you, right? And all you need to do is sit back and collect the money. So if whether you're doing like a residential product or you're doing something else, it's very simple. It's an email to me. I'll forward that over to our customer service group. We'll get you guys added. And then when you're ready to ka-ching and kill it with the gift cards and take your wife out to Ruth Chris or take your husband out to Ruth Chris, you might have to sell a few boilers to get there, just a little bit. But look, there's an opportunity for you here if you're installing residential boilers to make some money back on the indirects, on the Knights, on the Nobles. But it also, if you're installing commercial product, can win you trips, can win you Milwaukee tool sets. I mean, there's a lot of really good stuff happening here. So you have cash in on rewards, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be the first one to tell you this. And as you know, I love getting beat up, but I'm looking forward to the next person that's in this room right now that hasn't purchased Lochinvar, or I'm sorry, whether you've purchased Lochinvar in the past and you're looking to continue doing so. I have contractor training coming up at the end of this year, and I'm always looking for great people to bring down there. We do a little bit of honky tonking. We do a whole factory visit. That's a lot of fun, but I would really like to take you guys down there. That way we can hang out together, answer all your questions, and of course that's the best selling tool for me. It's not the VIP program. Sometimes it's not even the product, but once you actually go to the factory and you see that bad boy, woo-hoo-hoo, that's a selling point. It is something else. It's Disneyland for mechanical engineers. That's all I keep calling it. So here's your last note, guys. If you have not already signed up for Lochinvar University, please sign up for Lochinvar University. It's very simple. You go to lochinvar.com, and right in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little section that says Lochinvar U. Click in there, register, and now you have access to hundreds of videos covering everything from theory, technology, science, calculators, how to troubleshoot, how to clean, how to maintenance. So we used to do maintenance classes, and what I started to realize is a lot of my guys will be like, hey, before you come to the class, why don't you just jump on Lochinvar and just look up a couple of things? Well, the guys would end up whacking through the 13 courses that they have, and they're like, dude, I don't even want to come to your class anymore. I think I already got it all figured out. And believe it or not, the way that they do this is such a great job. It's helped me tremendously in terms of learning the product line. So again, lochinvaru.com, or you could just click the link at Lochinvar U. I am totally not doing product highlights, right? We're not doing that. We're done. Everyone, I thank you so much for your time. These are the last remarks you're going to look at on the field here. I'm going to just open up the chat box real quick and see if there's anything that I did.